Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back again to a brand new episode of SigniaGlobe.
Honeygram, season 2.
As you can see, we have a very special guest here with us today, which we will introduce you to right after this video. Hey, we're just having a bit of technical difficulties here today, so just give us one moment to just get it all sorted out. The video is coming shortly. And hopefully there's no be just shortly, right? Mr. Background Man.
Hopefully.
Okay, so while we wait on that to get started out, who I'm going to introduce you to today is Dr. Janelle Chase Mears, who is a very big part of the SigniaGlobe family. And as opposed to me struggling, trying to wrap my brain, trying to figure out what it is that Janelle actually does, because she's involved in so many things.
You should just let her talk.
Yeah, I would just let her just do that herself.
Alright, hi Signia family. I am Dr. J. It's easier to call that as a shorter name. But I'm a mental health consultant, I'm a creative systemic therapist, and I'm a wellness professional and a grief recovery specialist. I hold those 4 titles very near and dear because we can integrate all of them at different places and spaces in our life. So yeah, that is me in a nutshell. I've been in the health and professional field for since 2003.
Oh, wow.
So almost 20 years. Yes, I know I look young.
Just 13 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's actually
Y'all want to play with
that was 4.
Yeah, there's still 20 years. So I know how we get this done. But yeah, I've been in the field for a long time. Studied in the States and absolutely loved it. And then came back to Barbados and did a lot of work in the mental health field throughout several spaces. I'm a mental health educator. I also teach at BCC, University of West Indies. I've been teaching at BCC for 16 years. We for the past 4 years to counseling students, psychology students. Yeah, so I've been in the game a while.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a long time
Yeah.
in the game.
I mean, one accomplishments actually made it. I want to get there.
Yeah, exactly. If it is that you're familiar with Dr. J, she's definitely someone that's always doing something, always up there. You know, on Instagram and stuff, sometimes, we see who the lights coming up and popping up and there, which can't hold back. Yeah, can't hold back. Dr. J at all, boy, love piece of camera.
Yep.
Okay, I'm not sure if we...
We going to the video now?
Right, so just give us one moment. We'll be back very shortly, and we're going to the aforementioned video.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready for this? Y'all ready?
Okay, thank you very much for joining us back here again today. So we have my first question for Dr. J is basically about mental health, because although I find I guess more organizations or more people tend to be focusing on mental health more so than they did in the past, I'm just curious as to if you really think that we are putting enough focus into what mental health really is. So it's just to just give us a bit of an idea about mental health and the effort that we should be putting into that next point.
I think that's a very good question, and I would say it's yes or no. I think because when things come into our view for the very first time, it always appears like if it's a daunting task.
Mm.
And we kind of approach it from a very large perspective. But I think companies have always been trained to help team members with their mental health with employee assistance programs. What makes it a little bit different now in the last 2 years is how the response to the pandemic has ultimately treated us, where we've all experienced a personal trauma. So myself as a therapist experiencing trauma, well, you as a company or you as a team member would have been experiencing the same trauma we've all been experiencing. So I think there has been discussion, but now the discussion has to be raised because everybody now has experiences, not one or two people who have been impacted by maybe a death, maybe their own physical challenges that may turn into mental health challenges. Now all of us have had to look at financial instability, loss of freedom, different things that just kind of upset the apple cart. So now we have to have a larger conversation about, for me, my language is corporate mental health. When we go into corporate mental health spaces, because it's different and it looks different from what it looked like 2 years ago.
So what are some of the ways you think that they can counteract this? Like, what are some of the ways that businesses can assist the employees? Because there are many employees that may be struggling and they don't know.
Without sounding cliche, say have a trained professional, but I would say a trained professional that's really systemic in your business. So, like, we've done a lot of work collectively, Signia, together with the team. And that makes a bigger difference other than just people just showing up for sessions.
Yeah.
Because sometimes sessions are just what they are, sessions. You talk something and then that's the end of it.
And
But how does that impact your productivity as a company? How does that actually engage your team members in growth? Because you know me, I'm big on facilitated growth groups. That we can actually begin having larger conversations without things being problematic. Because we always go from that standpoint, we wait till things hit crisis level. But at this stage, we've been in crisis too long. We can't keep operating out of the crisis. It's overwhelming for a lot of people, so it's almost preemptive and preventative. What are some of the needs of your employees? What are some of the needs of your team members? And they highlight it. And we often speak as team members, what do we need? We may not know how to articulate it in a way that we get it.
it's true.
But we know what we need and we know how we reach out to each other. So I think it's important that we kind of build a culture of facilitated growth rather than just crisis management.
And too, just to follow on from that, I know like we tend to focus a lot more so on the aspect of the physical health. So I guess we still have to make sure and keep that as a part of it too as well.
Yeah, and that's a wellness. When you think about corporate wellness, most of the time you just think about physical health.
You don't want an employee to say that they're unwell, like mentally, and people don't take it seriously because it's like you're just throwing over, like people just brush you over because you say I am unable to do this because I am mentally not able to, and I find that people don't take it seriously. But businesses do need to step up and make this a priority.
Definitely.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if we have anyone in the comments who has any questions at this point. Feel free to ask. Now we have Dr. J here. Don't be shy.
Always ready for a question.
Don't all go at once, yeah? Right, so just because you spoke about the pandemic and stuff, so how would you say that the pandemic has affected you, like personally, as Dr. G?
Oh, I got focused. I had this PhD to finish for years, and once the pandemic hit in March, I was like, "Oh, we're not going anywhere." And I knew this was going to take at least 2 years. I gave it 2.5 years. Just because uncertainty, how life happens, and I buckled down. And for the first 18 months, I would say I just finished up my PhD. Really revamped what I was offering as services to corporate companies as well as individual companies. Because I knew there was going to be a need for me and other people who are very similar to me. And the need is going to be very much larger in the next 2 to 3 years. Not even during the pandemic, but more now because a lot of people are going to be overwhelmed when they go back to normalcy. They're not going to be able to function. And it's not that they don't want to function. It's overwhelming having kind of been at rest but unsure rest to go back into a situation where you have to then almost catch up. Because that's the language people are using. You don't miss 2 years. No, you didn't miss 2 years. You had 2 years that operated from a slower perspective. But we can't go back and do 2 years anyway. So for me, it was really kind of just put myself in position to be a leader in this field of corporate mental health, well-being, wellness for individuals, because that's where it's going to be needed now.
Yeah, I see what you did there when you did normalcy in inverted commas. So that's to say then that the normal that we expected going back to is not going to be the normal that we were exposed to before.
I would never use the word normal. First thing when I was doing masters in systems theory, we said normal is a setting on a washing machine. That's the only thing that's normal. Everything is contextual, right? And everything is dependent on what's happening between you and I.
Yeah.
So our perception that we're going back to the normalcy is one of the biggest false evidence appearing real. Because there's no normal. We can adjust. There's an opportunity for a lot of adaptability in our cultures, in our work cultures, in our family structures, in our educational structures that we actually will miss if we keep using the word normal. And a lot of people are going to be reaching back for that normal that they will never get back.
Yeah, I think that whole concept was normal is definitely an interesting and very deep concept, because what may be normal to all of us in this room may not be normal at all to somebody in some far part.
Because what we will then is not what we always going to be normal.
No.
Because when the pandemic, if it's whenever it will come to end,
It
will still not be the same thing what it was before.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, because it would have definitely changed a lot of us, not personally, but in the corporate world and stuff. I mean, that you can't really go back and really follow a lot of efficient ways of doing things.
Absolutely.
And things, so it's definitely being a roller coaster, but it's still got a lot of benefits from it.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we will not do, what I hope a lot of people will do, is actually triage and audit what they did well in the last 2 years and really spend some time looking at the systems they've built out that help them to be more efficient in the work that they do. Because when we don't audit what we do well, we tend to make some mistakes surrounding how we operate. We go back, almost like, well, I used to do it that way, but you used to do it that way for the time period that it was needed. But no, so I think we stand a better chance if we actually completely audit what we did well, and perhaps audit what didn't work, and then how do we use that to go forward in our everyday lives, in our everyday relationships, in our everyday business structures, in our corporate entities.
Like you find now that the pandemic has started, that more people are coming to seek like therapy or mental health assistance since the pandemic has started.
Yes. I refer people. I probably refer more people than I actually accept people, to be honest. Because so many people are understanding the need for it, and so many people feel it if they're falling apart. So we're at the stage where you can't really fall apart in your house, but your house busy too.
Exactly.
So like it's almost like once upon a time when you could hide with something, you can't hide. Like you're almost on top of everybody ultimately. And so yes, I would say definitely. But one of the things that I've done a lot more is direct people to purpose-built health. Because one of the dangers in mental health is that we sometimes go the wrong route, and it takes much longer to get success in mental health. And I'm a firm believer, if somebody calls me and says, well, I need a session for my 16-year-old, I wouldn't take it. I'll send them to a parent coach, because I know the problem is not the 16-year-old, it's the parent who's struggling. Or somebody comes to me and say, well, what do you do couples? I really want to here's my partner here that does this. So it's important also that people know the best type of help to do. Because sometimes we make those mistakes and we go to the wrong professional that could literally put us all over the map, and we really just need to be in this particular destination.
Yeah, so how you were saying that, you definitely noticed an increase in persons coming to you during this period. You found that they were academically basically like want sex only men, like in comparison with males and females?
That's really not a fair question to ask me because I have a very established rapport with men when it comes to the mental health field. I worked in an all-male facility for 11 years. My platform, I talk a lot about mental health, suicide, how do we help them with those ideations and depression. So for me, I would not be the best person to answer because I honestly believe men access therapy just as much as women. And in fact, in some instances, I think they access it more because they don't have women to talk to. Women love to talk when men are talking, and a man wants somebody to listen. So he'd rather go somewhere to get that feedback ultimately. So I'm not the best person to answer on a gender perspective because I've always had equal and sometimes more men than women during the work.
So you've also found that like the stigma as it relates to like seeking counseling or therapy is kind of like declining as the years go by.
Yeah, and I never use the word stigma because I think when people really need help, they go get it.
Okay.
And I think sometimes when we use that word, we actually keep people away from getting help. So another thing is that we like to say men don't like to talk. If you keep saying that, then men will never go and seek help. So I don't include the concept of mental health stigma. I just say people go where they need to get help. Ultimately, sometimes for a man is a lump shock to you realize that he can't be a successful doctor more. And then he gonna go somewhere else and seek further help, right? But my thing is, I think when people recognize that, things are going helter skelter, they reach out, and sometimes we don't know where to send them. And that ultimately becomes the issue too, because you may send them, the intervention that you're giving them may not be the intervention that they need.
Yeah. So at this point in time, we're going to shoot it back to anyone in the comments who may have any comments, questions, queries.
Maybe just wait a little bit. See?
Quiet a bit.
Yeah. Come on, guys, we can do better than that.
What's happening here? Because usually after you're about to end it, the questions will start coming in.
Ah.
Right, so just let people know where to contact Jonathan if you need.
Everything's in the in terms of personal development, because I know that can be a term that I guess can be a bit of a buzz term. Like in your field, what would you say personal development actually is really?
I think that's an interplay of understanding your mental well-being and learning new skills for whatever your goal for your vision is. So it's different from mental health work. You go more into like the coaching aspect. You hear a lot of people go into coaching. And that's really about skill development. What do you need to learn more about? In my when I wear a hat, I'm a re-engineering you coach. That's my own coaching program that I developed. Because there's a difference between somebody requiring mental health intervention and somebody requiring coaching to help them move through whatever challenges they're having. Because not everybody's problematic and crisis ridden, and they just want maybe they want to learn more about emotional regulation, and it's not directly linked to relationships. Maybe it's linked to work and having challenges in relating to people at work. So I think sometimes we have to kind of figure that out. Like, what are you trying to grow in, and what are you trying to have a visualization in? And then that's where you stick your personal development in. Because I think all of us should have personal development goals. Every single one of us. As we get older, as we get in relationships, as we work in organizations or build our own entrepreneurship journey, if you don't know what you want to do, then you kind of winging it. And you can only wing things for so far.
It's true, it definitely carries so far.
We got a question. So Lovely wants to know, besides therapy, is there anything else that you would suggest to cope with mental health?
Exercise, workout, dance, sing, get yourself a good tribe of healthy individuals. All of that is also paramount to your mental health. Also, one of the things that I would like people to start thinking about mental health is to see it as brain health. Because when you think about, is this behavior good for my brain?
Mhm.
Right? Yeah, it's going to drink with my friends, for the Sunday, that kind of stuff. But it's not good for your brain. Right? Or yeah, I like to watch Real Housewives or whatever. Is that good for your brain? You know, I think sometimes when we start to see mental health as brain health, people make better decisions as to are they eating, are they fueling their brain properly, are they listening to the right things, are they moving so their brain can actually function well. So there's so many things, but my first thing is always physical fitness. If you are not moving, you're gonna always have stagnant thoughts. You're gonna have stagnant mindsets, and I think that. But knowing all again, your right movement is also important too, because you may move that is also disruptive to your stress level. And so having a greater knowledge of your body is really important too for improving your mental health.
Yeah, so I know balance and stuff will be a very big part of it because I remember this was in 2020. I was like, okay, all right, well, let me try to use this thing to try to do like some personal development and stuff. And I was so ingrained in ways I was doing. I actually become like kind of stressful because I was like, okay, well, let me just do everything. So I'm getting up, I'm meditating in the morning, meditating in the evening.
Yeah,
I
too
read
much.
it.
Too
I
much
read
is
in
not good.
books.
Yeah.
I try to read. I try to recite all sorts of things to myself. You will make $1 million. I had the board and everything. Like it was just.
You had
it was
vision
just-
board?
Yeah, you had the vision board and everything. It was just. It was too much.
It was too much, and it was too much
Too much
probably
too quick.
without. Yeah, and sometimes it's too much without guidance.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're not accustomed to helping to see how you grow. Like for me, I do self-care plans, mental, physical, and spiritual self-care plans, and they run 6 weeks concurrently. And then I'll take a break, and then I'll go back maybe every 8 to 12 weeks and create a new plan for myself. So one is about discipline, and discipline is about taking action daily. So I don't operate from a place of motivation; I operate from a place of discipline in terms of what my vision is. But two, you also have to know where your mental space is, because it's almost like when people come to a gym and they want a gym, and people come to the gym and they want to do everything, and I'm like, just get accustomed to coming to the gym. They don't ask me about. So what meal plan is supposed to be using and how much times? No, just get accustomed to getting up at 5 o'clock, coming into gym for 2 to 3 weeks, and let's see what that works like. And then we can look at looking at a food diary, and then we can look at how nutrition plays a part. But sometimes when you change everything, you also create an operational system of grief and loss, because you're so accustomed to doing this thing over here that you don't even realize that you've taken that out, trying to replace it with something new. And then you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, affirmations this morning, meditation, then by the time you're tired and you're overwhelmed. So our brains also need time to create healthy routines and to respond to the healthy routines that we actually putting into our own psyche.
Keys.
Contact for Janelle.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us today, Dr. J. We definitely appreciate it.
We definitely do.
So, Dr. J, you can just tell us where it is that we can contact you. If there's anyone out there that wants to contact you outside of this forum.
So JC Mirrors on Facebook, LinkedIn, IG, and jcmirrors.com. JayceeMayers.com. Fairly simple, easy to.
Yeah, that's very simple.
Yeah.
So thank you once again. As you know, we appreciate you. You're someone I definitely appreciate. So thank you all for joining us. And be sure to join us next week on another episode of SigniaGlobe.
Honey ground. See you at 3.
Ladies and gentlemen,